Closing the listing appointment is absolutely vital if you are going to make it as a real estate agent in this business. We've talked about how to set the listing appointments, but now it's time to talk about how to close on every appointment that you go on. We're going to talk about the 4 main strategies that I utilize to close on every appointment that I go on. That'll be reaffirming their motivation, differentiating yourself from the rest, getting a correct pricing strategy on the property so it actually sells, and then eventually closing the deal and getting that sweet, sweet listing signed. Understanding the client's motivation as to what they actually want out of the sale of the property is vital if you're going to close the listing appointment. To do this, you want to actively listen to them, and it's much more difficult than it sounds. A book that I commonly recommend is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, and he goes into detail about active listening and how important it actually is. Let's say you're talking to a for sale by owner and the prospect says, this is my aunt's property, she's deceased, and now I have to sell it. Most people won't pick up on that, but what they actually want most of the time in that type of scenario is to have an easy, smooth transaction and be done with the property. There's a lot of emotions tied to this property, so they want a very easy and systematic transaction to where it's not going to be an issue, it's not going to be a headache for them. So you now need to tailor your entire pitch, your entire conversation with them around solving that specific problem. The systems and processes you have in place to keep them up to date, and the communication, how important that is to you to communicate to your client every step of the way. These are the things they want to hear. You don't want to go too detailed about the price. That isn't their actual want out of the property. It's to just be done with it and move on. You'll find this out again through active listening. So when you're talking to a prospect and initially setting that listing appointment, you want to take notes and just, be quiet and let them talk. If you're silent, that silence kills, and they will eventually fill that void with conversation and just give you all the information you need to tailor what it is they actually want, and you can solve every problem along the way. That is our goal as real estate agents and just salespeople in general, and this is how you get the business. It is quite simply solve the problems that they have. If you solve every problem that they have, you're going to get the business. This is vital. So let's say, the property is super messy. Like a tenant moved out, there's a ton of stuff everywhere. It's incredibly messy. They don't want to deal with that. Spend the extra $150 on getting a cleaning crew in there and solving that problem for you. They don't know it's $150. They just know that you're solving their problem for you, and this will get the business to you in the end. So you want to understand their motivation and tailor the entire conversation, the entire time you're talking to the prospect around solving their problems. Now, to close the deal at the end of the, let's say, listing appointment, once you go on it, you want to just reaffirm their motivation. Maybe it's not something they told you directly, but it's things that you picked up on. So you want to just circle back and say something like, let's say it's that the property where a tenant moved out and they destroyed the property and it's super messy. You want to just reaffirm to them, I can get a cleaning crew out here in a day or two, and I will clean the entire property so it's pristine for showings when we actually list the property. You're assuming that they're going to go through you because of all the value and services that you provide. A lot of times it is price, so then you want to be focused on netting them the same or just a little bit more so your commission isn't, killing the deal. So then you just tailor around that. Here are the comps of what I'm looking at in the area. This is the price I think. We can get you 10 grand more than what you're initially asking for. Again, let's say it's a for sale by owner, and this will cover all the commissions. That's what they want to hear. You want to solve the problems and actively pick up on what it is they actually want throughout the deal and the sale of the home. A common objection that I've gotten many times, and I know you have as well, is how are you different from the other agents that I'm interviewing? This is a time to show your point of difference. Now, what many agents say, and I know I've said this many times early in my career, is, well, we're going to do this spectacular marketing. We're going to have the best photos, professional photos show up. We're going to really focus on getting your property sold, and everything's going to be great. And we're going to have the best marketing and all this. Every agent is saying this, and to be honest with you, this is simply just part of our job. This isn't a point of difference. Selling the property is simple. It's price of the property, condition of the property, and location of the property. The main thing that you can control is pricing of the property. If the property is a dump and not in a good location, the price needs to reflect. If it's a great property and a great location, price reflects. And if it's not selling, typically it's due to price. As long as your marketing is just what you're doing as your job, and you are having the professional photos, maybe the video tours, having a good description, then those three things are your key things. And that's not your point of difference. That simply is your job. So I will let them know this, that, my job is to do this, but my point of difference is from when we go under contract, excuse me, when we go under contract to when we actually close the deal, I will be with you every point of the way and solving every issue that comes. And throughout this, I'm going to be reaffirming their motivation as well as to what they actually want. And this simply means, I'll explain to them, there's three main hurdles. There's the inspection period of the sale process, there's the appraisal, and there's actually getting the buyers to show up and sign. How are you going to be different to solve all these problems is what you want to focus on. How I do it in my career, for instance, the appraisal. Before the appraiser ever goes out, I get their contact info and I just have a conversation with the appraiser to build rapport. I then will pull all the comps that I found, that how I priced out the property, and send it to them. Not as a sense of I'm doing their job for them, but as just, hey, these are what I use to price out the property. Hope this helps you. Please let me know. Something like that. Pretty simple, nothing over the top. This gives the appraiser a point of reference of what you use to price out the property. And as long as you price it out accurately, you're going to be just fine. I can't tell you how many times, before I started doing this, the appraisal comes in 20 grand low, it kills the deal. That's your point of difference. The point of difference is you are not going to be responsible for killing the deal. You're going to do everything in your power to keep the deal together by preemptively having these systems and processes in place. Another thing that most of the time people want to hear, this is the biggest investment of their life, and they're trusting you to sell it, is the amount of communication that you have along the way. The systems that you've built in throughout your career to communicate them every step of the way of what's going on, keeping them informed, so they understand exactly where we're at. This is my point of difference. Most agents don't go into any of this. They just go into simply photos, professional photos, selling the property. Again, part of your job. It's just what you're supposed to do. The point of difference is that, getting the buyers to the actual closing table and getting them to signing, getting the sellers paid. Again, throughout all this, you want to reaffirm their motivation. So if there's problems that's going to come up, like the house is messy, it's trashed right now, you'll hire that cleaning crew. You go the extra mile, you'll spend $150 to hire a cleaning crew to get out there and clean up the property before you even allow any showings on the home. That's your point of difference, not the marketing. That's just part of your job. It's what you're going to do to keep the deal together. And this is what I go into with the client when they ask me this question. So the next thing that you're going to have to go into after the client knows, likes, and trusts you, because we all know people work with who they know, like, and trust, is the pricing strategy of the property. This is very vital because, like I said before, what determines if a property sells is the price of the home, the location, and the condition. And the thing that you can directly control is the price of the home. So what I do before I go on any listing appointment, there's a few things that I bring with me. One of them is a tool called the multi-map tool. And I really like this tool for the friendly interface that it has. So what you do, you go on the MLS and you highlight all of the properties that you want to be shown. I typically will just highlight everything that's sold, everything that's active, and everything that's under contract in the area. Whether it's a comparable or not, just anything that's around their home that shows them what has gone on. And if you highlight all of these and then click multi-map tool, so if you click print, like select them all, click print, and you'll see something like agency full, buyer full, all these different types of things that you can print these comps out in a format. At the bottom, and most MLSs, there'll be a tool called multi-map tool. And this will create a map of the area with all these dots, these numbered dots that are either green or red for sold or active. And at the bottom, it'll have every property that you highlighted in a little thumbnail with a photo. And I find this, just the map, it's like a Google map, to be a very friendly format to look at properties that sold so they can get a broad understanding of what's going on. A lot of agents will just show them like very hard comps, like just these lines with the address, the price, the days on market, that's very analytical, and I'm very analytical myself, but I know most people just want to see a very friendly format, a map, and then they're looking at like, oh, Joe's house sold at X amount, or I didn't realize that Susie sold this house, or they know their area more than you, and when you show a photo and a map of the home, they can very quickly determine where that's at, and the fact that they've driven past it a bunch. So it creates this level of understanding in them through a friendly format. So I'll print that out, and the first thing I do is I'll just share with them, like, here's all the activity that's going on in your market. Take a look at this. And they legit will look at it for a couple minutes. I mean, it'll be silent for a couple minutes while they're looking through it, because it is engaging. I mean, it looks nice. They now have a broad understanding of what's going on in their market. This is all to set up getting them to an understanding of what the price should be. Now, you can't really determine a price from that because they're not actual comps, but you can get a broad understanding of the market very quickly that way. The next thing I print out before I go on the listing appointment is actual hard comps. So I try to print out about 3 sales that have sold in the area that are very comparable to theirs, within 250 square feet of their square footage, same bed bath, same style of house, and anything that's sold in the past 6 months to a year. This is my hard comps, and before I go to the listing appointment, I will come to a price in my head. So let's say I know the house will sell at $250,000. I will know that beforehand, but I will never tell them directly we should list here yet. I'll just print them out, and I know that these are the comps that I came to a price. If any other realtor looked at it, they'll come to the same price or pretty darn close to it. And I'll have that printed out in a format of just, I think it's called buyer's agent full with photos. So it'll show the whole paper will be like the information of the property, and then the next pages will be the photos of the home. So you can get the condition of the property and all the information you need. And I'll highlight the key things. So when it sold, how many days it took to sell it, the square footage, the bed bath size. I'll highlight everything that's very important to coming up with price on the home. And those are like really the only things that I bring. I'll also bring like a realist sheet, like an auditor site sheet. So I have all the information on their property, the exact square footage based on what the county says. But that's more for me when I'm talking to them. And then obviously I'll bring a listing agreement in case I get the deal closed at the table, which we'll talk about next. But that's about it. I then go on the appointment. And the main thing is, if you're solving all the problems and they know, like, and trust you, they're more than likely going to list with you. So I'll go to the table after walking their home. So I'll meet them, walk through the home, get more information about the property. Once you actually see it, you can get a flow for the home. You can see if there's work that needs to be done, what needs to be done, and I'll walk through the home. Now, backtracking to building trust with the homeowners, when you're walking through the home with the client or prospect, you want to be very transparent and truthful. Say there's a little bit of grout missing around the tiles in the bathroom. This looks dirty, this looks bad, and it's literally a $20 fix that almost anybody can do. And I'll explain to them, when buyers are walking through the home, this scares them, but it's like a $20 to $30 fix. Please, like, you should fix this before you show the home anymore. And this is building transparency and trust. I'm not just walking through the home being a yes man, being like, this home's beautiful, I love this home, everything's great, it's gonna sell for the greatest amount. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm being very analytical and truthful with them. So I frame myself as the expert, as the professional. I know what's gonna sell the home, I know what will scare buyers, and I'll tell them that. So if there's anything that you see in the home that you think should be fixed, that's a low cost item and worth it, explain that to them. And say, hey, this will cost you $100. If you fix all this, take you a week. I recommend doing that before you move forward, and it'll get you thousands of dollars more in the long run. This again builds transparency and trust. The other thing is, let's say a bigger ticket item. Let's say the carpet is dirty in the home, and if they fixed it, they would get more money, but maybe they don't have the cash to spend on it. Explain that to them. Walk through the home, be like, I know that the carpet is in rougher condition. I can get a carpet guy out there. I have a contractor. Talk to local contractors to get one, but I have a contractor for you, and I can get them out here, free quote for you. I'm guessing it'll be between $3,000 and $4,000. And I believe this will sell your house for 10 grand more. So you're actually netting that 6 grand right there. If they don't want to spend or assume the risk of spending 3 to 4 grand to potentially get 10 grand higher, just make them aware of their options that they have. So you don't need to do this, but you might want to give a closing cost credit for the carpet initially. Things like this will frame you as an expert when you're walking through the home. So again, I have all my comps, I have my multi-map, I have the 3 comparables, and once we walk through the home and I explain my thoughts on the home, we'll sit down with them and I will not tell them what I think I should list at. If they ask me, what do you think I should list at? I'll say, well, let's look at the comps and let's go through the comps together. I'll initially give them that multi-map, they'll get a broad understanding. Then I will pull out all 3 comps and I'll lay them on the table. And I have all my highlights already done preemptively on the property, or on the comparables, showing the square footage, the bed bath, everything like that. And I'll just explain each house to them. Like this one, a little less updated, sold at $320. This one a little bit more updated, sold at $370. This one's right about where we're at and sold around $349. Based on these comparables, what do you think the home should sell at? And I get them to determine a price based on the comps that I used to determine my price. This will always get them to come to a price that is close to accurate to your price as well. So now they're coming to a decision at the table as to what they should list their property home, their home at, based again on the comps that you showed them. So it's all accurate and they now feel in control because they came up with that price. This will overcome a common objection that I've gotten a lot, especially with for sale by owners, where some new agent will tell them that they can get like $100,000 more for the property when realistically they can't. This will then, I'll show them comps, they'll come to that price and realize that agent was totally lying to them to just get the business. And I don't even have to say anything. They'll just come to that understanding. Again, people only work with who they know, like, and trust. So now if they don't trust the agents that are telling them anything over that price, because that's the price that they determined based on real actual comps, that is a great thing and that'll overcome many, many objections. And again, you're framing yourself as an expert and a professional. So this is how I go through the pricing strategy of the home. You obviously want the house to be the lowest price possible so it can get multiple offers. A lot of people aren't comfortable with that risk, which I totally understand. But as long as you give them the comps that support the specific price that you know it'll sell at, you're in a great area. And now they came to that understanding of price, not you just preaching to them what it should be sold at or what it should be listed at. So this is how I work through the pricing strategy, overcome the objections of, well, XYZ realtor told me about I can get 100 grand more. Why would I go with you when you're saying I can only get 350? Well, I've already showed you the comps. You came to determination on what it actually should be listed at. This is a realistic price. And if the client isn't realistic, that's not somebody you maybe want to work with. There's no point in getting a listing that's way, way overpriced if it's not going to sell. You're just putting time and money into it, and you know it's not going to sell at that price. So you want to get a very realistic price, and if they're not realistic, you move on to the next prospect. But 9 times out of 10, they are, because of how you're supporting the comps, at what pace you're giving them it, how you're explaining it through them, and letting them determine the price, not yourself. So now after all of that, you walk through the home, you built the trust, the rapport with the client, you came to an agreement on price, you're expecting a listing agreement signed. Here's my philosophy on that. They've talked to you on the phone when you were prospecting them for maybe 6 to 10 minutes, and now you've had a 30-minute listing appointment with them where you're just, again, building more rapport. So they've total had about 45 minutes with you of getting to know you. Very rarely do I get a listing appointment or a listing agreement signed on the first appointment because, again, there's just not enough time to spend with you to come to determination on something that's the biggest investment of their life, the biggest thing that they've done investment-wise, money-wise, and now you expect them to trust you after 45 minutes of speaking with you. It's very, very tough. And what a lot of gurus out there and coaches will tell you is these simple one-liners that'll just close them. What that's doing, it may work initially, but you're just hard selling them right at the end after you built the rapport, you built the trust, you built the transparency, and now you're using these hard one-liners where you're backing them in a corner where they can't logically say no to you. And now you might get just a fake yes and a signed listing agreement, but it feels in their head that you just trapped them into getting that, and that's all you came out there for. I'm purely coming out there for providing value, seeing if there's value to be had, seeing if it makes sense for both of us to work together, things like that. That's my focus. It's to build rapport and trust and provide value. Okay, the listing agreement comes second because I know it'll always come through in the end. But when you sit there and hard sell them, you're either one, going to lose the appointment. They're going to be like, hey, I'm just not ready right now. I don't want to. And you just killed all the rapport and trust you've built to just try to get this false yes out of them. Or you're trapping them into something that they aren't really too sure about yet, and they sign it, but they don't really feel comfortable, and it's going to cause you a lot of problems through working with them. So you don't want to do this. It's a line that I always like to use, and this is counterintuitive, but I'll literally sign the listing agreement towards them, and I'll say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I don't want you to sign this agreement right now. I want you to take it back, read through it, make sure you're comfortable with everything I've talked about today. I want you to interview multiple agents so you can come to the determination that I'm the best agent for you. This is giving them complete control over something that they should have control over. And it's making me look, I'm very confident in saying that because I know at the end of the day that I'm the best realtor for them. If you truly know that deep down, you'll have the confidence to convey that to them. So I'll literally sign the listing agreement over and say, I do not want you to sell this or sign this right now. I want you to look through that. I want you to come to the determination that I'm the best, and I want you to interview multiple agents so that you know you're making the best decision for yourself. Sound fair? So typically I'm not getting the listing agreement signed right away, but what I'm doing is giving them complete control, letting them come to the determination that you and I are the best agents for this property. This will show confidence and convey everything. You don't want to use those one-liners. You don't want to hard sell them. I'm all about the soft sale close, letting them be in full control, and just simply the way I get the business is being the best, having the systems and processes in place, not being like any other realtor, having a business that's supported on people wanting to work with me, not me convincing or manipulating them to work with me. This is how I close a lot of appointments, and usually what will happen is I'll walk away, they feel they're in complete control, and the next day they'll call me and say, Dave, we really like you, love your presentation, we want to work with you. And then I'll go back out there and get it signed. So it usually takes the second appointment to get it signed. I noticed that a lot of agents have this mindset in their head, like they just had a 6-minute conversation with them or a 10-minute conversation with them on the phone. Now they're on a listing appointment. Hopes are high, you might get a good check out of this. And then their only mindset throughout talking to them is getting that agreement signed, and that they're not now focused on the client or the prospect. They've lost all active listening into figuring out what their motivation, what their needs are, what they actually want. So you've lost all of that, the key things that we've talked about in the beginning of the video, and you're just focused on getting that agreement signed at the end of the appointment. It's simply just, in my case, not realistic. Unless the seller is extremely in need to sell their home right away, you want them to take time and come to you. More than likely that's going to happen anyways. So if you just have the confidence to say, I don't want you to sign this right now, your point of difference already shown just in that line right there. You're being different than any other realtor who's came to see them yet, because every other realtor is trying to get agreement signed right away. So have the confidence, have the actual business, be the realtor you want to be where people want to work with you. Be the best, be the most knowledgeable, have the most confidence, know you'll solve every problem along the way. You'll get the business every single time. It might take, a day, it might take a week of them looking it over and interviewing others, but no other agent saying that. And it is hands down the best line I've had that I use to make them in control and let them come to the decision. I hope this video helps you guys. I know it's helped me in my career. It took me a while to figure out these things. It took me hundreds of listing appointments. So I hope this helps. Any questions or concerns or things that I've said in the video, leave it in the comments below. Ask me any questions, and I'll hopefully answer them to the best. Again, appreciate you guys watching. The link in the description below, this is you can find all the scripts I utilize for prospecting to actually get the appointment. My previous videos go into me cold calling, and I also have a link there where if you are interested in coaching, I have a 30-minute call where we can see if it makes sense to work together and we can talk directly one-on-one. Again, hope this video helps. Thanks for watching.